Good morning, everyone. Suburban Sentinel here. This is part 2 of our little story on the ATM caper. This is a real-life self-defense scenario that took place in the ATM vestibule of a local bank. I want to thank everybody who made video responses and commented. I am extremely impressed by the thought and the quality of those responses. It's unfortunate that you folks out there weren't at this vestibule at the time. Things would have gone much more smoothly. So again, I am extremely impressed and I want to thank everybody who commented. If you are just joining us and did not see part 1 of this story, I will leave a link somewhere on the screen here and in the description box below. And let's also do a brief recap. Shown on the screen is the diagram of the bank vestibule. It was a Sunday morning, about 7 o'clock. Bank was closed. Our citizen here walks in, uses this ATM to get cash. The unknown subject follows him into the vestibule. About 30 seconds later, the subject is acting quite suspiciously on the following grounds. 1, the subject appeared out of nowhere. He was not near the bank or in the parking lot just moments prior to the citizen walking in. Second, the subject did not go to the other ATM, which was functioning at the time. Third, the subject was standing rather close, too close for comfort, in fact, to the citizen while the citizen was transacting business. And finally, and probably most importantly, as the cash is coming out of the machine, the subject starts making a move toward the citizen. The citizen knew this, not because he has eyes in the back of his head, but because he could see the subject's reflection in the ATM's security camera window. Before getting to what actually happened, a quick disclaimer. In my opinion, what the citizen did in response, which will follow, was and is an act of unequivocal dumbassery. So I am not at all advocating or condoning the response. Also, I am not one to generally nor quickly criticize someone acting under stressful and or exigent circumstances. But in this case, I feel comfortable criticizing the citizen because this particular dumbass was me. So here's what happened. It was a Sunday morning. It was very warm. It was in the middle of the summer. I was wearing cargo shorts and a polo shirt, I believe. And I had this very Smith & Wesson J-frame tucked into my front left pocket. I'm a lefty, so that's where this thing lives during the summer. Now, what happened at the ATM machine, as my cash was being spit out, this guy who I was watching in that window or kind of makeshift mirror started walking up on me. And this distance is only about 2.5, maybe 3 feet. So quite honestly, I was pretty scared. And what I did was simultaneously, I grabbed the cash out of the machine with my right hand, and it was 5 $20 bills. And I took those bills and I just threw them up in the air over my shoulder as a distraction, which also allowed me enough time to reach into my pocket and grab this J-frame. I wheeled around, not knowing how big this guy was or whether he had a weapon, because I couldn't see his hands. All I could see was shoulders and head. And I rammed him with everything I had back against this glass wall. I took my right arm and pinned both of his arms down to his sides, and I had this J-frame The muzzle of this J-frame literally stuck right in his forehead, and I had my finger on the trigger. Now, up until this point, I have not said a word to this guy. He's pinned up against this glass wall. I'm looking for weapons. I see he's just wearing a pair of shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt. He was an older guy. At the time, I was probably my very early 40s. He had at least 15 years on me, and he was pretty small in stature. Now, I'm looking for weapons, in his front pockets. I don't see a thing. And this is where we go from the sublime to the ridiculous. I didn't say a word. He says, and I can never forget this. He says, I was just coming over to tell you that I bought this new car wax and it works really great. So after hearing that lunacy, first you're in a hyper alert state fueled by adrenaline. And this guy is yelling to me about his new car wax. I was so dazed and confused, I really didn't know what to do. I just spun him around, kept him pinned up against this glass wall at the back of the vestibule. And I searched him basically for weapons. I went around his waistband and his back pockets. He had no weapons at all. All he had was a wallet. And all I could think to do is, I still had him in a pretty good grip, as I moved him over in front of the door. And throughout this whole ordeal, I just said one word to him. I said, run. And boy, he burst through that door like toast out of a toaster. And I was pretty impressed with how fast he was, because he took off down the street, never looked back. Was this guy a criminal or just a lunatic? To this day, I really have no idea. If he were a criminal, he's a really lousy one. First of all, he picks a target to go after with no weapons, and this particular target was basically twice his size. At the time, I was 6'3", about 250 pounds. He was maybe 5'6", 5'7", and half that. He had no knives, no guns, no nothing. So it was not exactly a soft target for him. What he was doing there, was he trying to sell me car wax? Was he just assessing whether he had an easy mark? I really do not know. It just puzzles me. So basically that was the end of the story. I picked up my $20 bills and left. Never saw this guy again in the neighborhood or anywhere else. I really don't know what his deal was. Quite honestly, I handled that rather badly. Had I had the presence of mind that you folks exhibited in the comments section, I could have done much better by exclaiming, oh geez, I'm overdrawn again, or I forgot my passcode, or something of that nature. This could have ended probably without having to draw that gun. And of course, we want to be prepared, but avoidance is our best remedy against any potential threat. The good news is no one got hurt, and I learned a lot that day about how to react and how to be prepared for the completely unexpected. And hopefully our unknown subject friend over there learned something too. I really enjoy learning through storytelling. This is a custom that's been with our civilization since the get-go, and I find it very helpful. So hopefully you folks out there in YouTube land are finding this helpful as well. Thanks for watching. This is the Suburban Sentinel. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you see. Questions, enlightening comments, and alternative strategies for this scenario are always welcome. Be safe out there, everybody.